Hi guys, and welcome back to another IBRACORP video. I'm so glad to have you back this week. Thank you for coming back and checking out our new video for the weekend. Earlier this week we released a little bit of a midweek madness sort of video. I just felt like pumping one extra one out there for you guys to give you something to do to tide you over into our new video this weekend. And we've covered a request application before, and so I thought, you know what, it wouldn't be fair just to cover the one. It's nice to have a look and see our different options out there. And so today we're going to be picking up Petio. It's a fantastic application. It allows users to request stuff, allows them to add reviews, allows you to manage your Plex server really well, and goes beyond just requests. So it's a really nice all-in-one package, I think, that a lot of people have missed out on or haven't really been exposed to yet. I'd like to really thank some of the developers who have pitched into today's video from Petio. They've worked collaboratively with us and my team in our Discord community, and together we've been able to hash out a couple of things that people would really like to know. All you guys who are watching this video, things that you might want to implement for your own setup, and what Petio can bring to the table that you may not find elsewhere. So a big thank you to their whole team for pitching in and working together with us. We really appreciate it. I'd also like to give a big generous thank you to everybody who has helped support our channel, whether it's by subscribing, liking the videos, becoming a member on our website, donating to us. Anything you do, guys, I really appreciate it. So I just hope you know that, and everything you've done so far has helped us immensely, so thank you very much. So if you're looking for a new request software, or you just want to try something else, try something new, have it side by side with your existing request application, this is the video for you. And without further ado, let's get stuck into it. Alright guys, so we're here on the Petio main website, petio.tv. It's a little bit bare at the moment. It could just be my browser, I'm not too sure. But it's got enough information for us to get started, and I'll just quickly run you through what they have to say for their application in their own words. So they say it's a third-party companion app to Plex server owners to allow their users to request, review, and discover content. It's built to instantly feel familiar and intuitive, even to the most tech-agnostic users, which is always a selling point for us. It'll help you manage requests, connect to other third-party apps such as Sonarr and Radarr, notify users when content is available, and track request progress. Petio also allows users to discover media both on and off your server, quickly and easily find related content, and review to leave their opinion for other users. That last line there, that's a pretty cool feature. Basically, your users can actually leave reviews on stuff so that other members of your team or your organization or your family or friends can see those reviews and say, you know what, I really like that content, or look at that review, they thought they checked it out and they thought it was good. Maybe I'll check it out. And speaking with the developers, it is something in the works where they're going to make it a universal aspect to those reviews, so other people who are using Petio can leave reviews for the content and you'll be able to see it in your server. That's a planned future thing, but as of right now, it's for people just on your server, which is still really good. And last and most importantly, the last line here that says, Petio is an ongoing, forever free, always evolving project, currently in alpha prototype stage and now available. Now look, they put that alpha prototype stage in there, but using it myself, I can tell you that it actually is quite developed and really easy to use. I don't think this website really does it justice, and I think this is probably still under construction, but the application itself feels really fluid, and I'll show you that when we get there. So look, there's a whole bunch of other information on here, fast and friendly. You know, they've got their Discord here, so join their Discord if you're interested, as well as ours, because we've got the developers in there too. And they've also got links to their docs page, Reddit, and their GitHub link as well. So guys, look, it's all well and good. We're looking over these basic settings here, but what we're going to do is get into the install, and then I'll start pointing out some of the features that we can really look forward to enjoying. So I'll jump into my Unraid server now, and you guys can do the same, and we'll pick it up there and continue. Awesome guys, so we're in our Unraid server, and we've gone straight to the App Store where we find all of our great juicy content. So the first thing we're going to do is actually install MongoDB. Now the reason is that's a dependency that we need, and it's the database that I will use to write all of its information to. So it's pretty straightforward. If we're just going to the App Store and type MongoDB, we'll see the option here by Taddy's, I'm going to be honest, I can't say that. By Taddy's repository. Go ahead and click to install. As usual, if you're using a custom Docker network, just go ahead and set that to your custom Docker network. By default, the port 27017 is the default port for Mongo, and it's what we'll be using to connect to it later. If that port's in use, just change it to whatever you feel is relevant. App data looks good. If we go to show more settings, there's nothing there, so nothing to worry about. Pretty much go ahead and click apply. So with our MongoDB installed and running, if we just go back to Docker real quick, we'll make sure that that's started okay, and that looks good. Come back to the App Store again, and we can just look up Petio now. Currently on the CA store, we've got two options, one from Hot.io and one from Charging Cosmonaut. I'm personally going to go with Hot.io's one. That's just a personal preference, but you can go with whatever option you feel relevant. Go ahead and click to install. I always recommend the default tag, which is the latest tag, so you're always getting the latest version that's on a stable release. Any other one you pick here is really at your own risk, guys, because as they say, they're either preview, dev, etc, etc. So we'll go ahead with default. And in the template screen, it's pretty bare. There's not much we have to do really. So what we're going to do is set it to the same custom Docker network that we put our MongoDB on. If you don't want to do that, you can have it on any other option. Just remember that we're going to have to change a couple of things later, and I'll walk you through that. So in here, all this looks good. We're happy with how it is. Those ports are free. Go ahead and click apply. Now guys, we're just breezing through this install phase because it is very, very quick. Most of the stuff is going to be done inside the app, which is where we'll be able to take our time and go through things a little bit better. So we'll go back to our Docker tab, and we should have Petio running and MongoDB running. That's all we need to get started, so the Unraid side of things is pretty much now done. If you want, you can set it to auto start, the usual type of thing. Always remember guys, anything that depends on a database, you want the database to start first if your server restarts. So do yourself a favor and move the database to the top. If you're using Docker folders and you followed our Docker folders video, you might have a Docker folder with databases in it, for example. In that case, move that stuff to the top. So I would probably move MongoDB. You got MariaDB up here, which isn't really part of media services. This is just a test server, but you might have a folder called databases, and you would put them all in there and have them higher than everything else. So we've got Petio there, it's running, easy peasy, left click and go to the web UI. So now that we're in the web UI, we can start actually configuring the app. Now the first thing it's going to say is to log in with Plex. So if you didn't know this already, this is dependent on Plex. It is designed to work really well with Plex. So what we'll do is go ahead and log in with Plex. Now, just to make my life easier in editing, I've actually just removed the element for these two fields, the first two fields. But in here, you'll usually see your Plex admin username and email, and that's basically pulled directly from Plex and you can't edit it. So I've just hidden mine just to save myself having to edit it later. The only field that you can complete is a Petio admin password. So this means you'll be able to log in using your email from Plex and your Petio password in the event that you either don't want to use your Plex login or you can't use your Plex login. So create a password here. I would recommend you create one. We kind of need to actually to progress. So create a password here for admin and click next. And so now you're going to be confronted with several different options. So these are all the ones running on my test server. So what we'll do is pick the one that you want. Now, if you want it to reach from the external address, you can do that. I personally like to have everything picking it up internally. So I'll go by the local address, but again, that's totally up to you. If we just click that and then go ahead and click next, then we get to set up our MongoDB. So before we started our MongoDB up, there's really nothing else to it, right? So from this end, Petio will actually go in and create all the tables it needs and all the databases it needs within there. You don't have to do anything. All we need to do is tell it where it lives. So going by the comment we made when we set up Mongo, we put it on the same custom Docker network as we did with Petio. And that means that we can refer to it using its container name. So for me, if I go back really quickly, you can see our container name here is MongoDB, right? Yours should be the same from this same container template, but if you decided to change it, then it would be whatever you've changed it to. Then we come back here, of course. So what I would do is just then put DB here so that it matches the same container name that I've got in my Unraid server. And if I was to click test, that will work. So if I click test, that works. So they're actually communicating to each other on the same network. If for some reason you didn't want to use the same custom Docker network or it was on a different host, then you have options. These are all basically just templates to help you read how you would link them, but any field will work really. So you could just go to other or Unraid and just type your IP address. So it could be 192.168.1.120, wherever that lives, wherever your MongoDB is living, followed by the port. So in my case, again, it's on the same custom Docker network, so I'm just going to go with that, click test, and we get a nice green tick. Click finish. And at this point, guys, depending how big your Plex library is, it's just going to go ahead and start building everything up. So feel free to go grab a cup of coffee. I'm pretty sure to even tell you here, actually. There's some funny messages too. There you go. Grab a cup of tea. This could take a few minutes. So I'll come back to this and we'll pick it up once it's done. Alright guys, so when it eventually finishes and it sets everything up for you, you'll be faced with the login screen. So like I said earlier, you have the option to either log in with Plex, or we log in with our Plex email/username and the admin password that we set up in Petio. So I'll go ahead and do that and then we'll sign in. And once you sign in, you will land on the admin dashboard. Now, while speaking with the devs, they did mention that the dashboard's original design was a little bit rushed. And again, this is in alpha. You can see it down in the bottom left corner here, what version we're on, 0.5.1 alpha. So a lot of this is always going to be subject to change. And they said, look, they want to make this admin panel a little bit more intuitive, a little bit easier to read and have some more, nice features. But I think already it's a nice seller because it basically pulls what Plex shows you, which is awesome. So the way they're reading information from the Plex API is really, really in depth, and I'm really enjoying that. Because usually I would have to swap the Plex and have a look at what it's doing, whereas this can actually feels like a dashboard where I can do it all in one place. So with our Petio actually set up and we're logged in now, we still have a couple of things that we'll need to set up before we're actually able to really do anything. So the first thing I'd recommend is you head over to your settings. In your settings, you have a few options under general to start with. So let's go through those. So if you need to reconnect or re-authenticate with Plex, easy way to do it right there. If I go ahead and click test, I get a Plex test passed. That means we're looking good. For email, you have your SMTP settings that you can configure. And even better, they've actually added some options here to help you with getting it going with Gmail, which I've also done a video on separately. So look, I'm not going to set that up for this. This is a test instance, but you guys understand by now, if you need to set up your SMTP settings, this is where you do it. So straight off the bat, it's right there. Put that information in and it will allow Petio to send emails out. So when someone requests something or approves something, I highly recommend you do that. And if you don't have an SMTP server, like I said, we have our Gmail video, which shows you how to use Gmail so that you can have professional looking emails and use that to manage all your emails as well. Under base path, we have the option to set a base path like most other apps. So if you didn't want to use a subdomain when you get to reverse proxy type of thing, you can set it as a subfolder or subpath. Personally, I don't really like the whole subpath methodology. I prefer using subdomains. It's just so much easier for me. But if you have a use case for it, the option is there for you. We then have user login. So as you can see here, logging into the admin panel will always require a username, email, and password. However, the standard user panel can be customized for fast login, where a user only needs to provide their username and email, or a standard login, where they're required to enter a username and password. So I haven't shown you what that interface actually looks like yet. This is what the admin dashboard looks like. So for a standard user, I'll show you what that looks like now. So here's what the actual interface looks like for a non-administrator. Obviously ignoring this part where it says admin because I'm signed into an admin account. But for your other users, this is what the interface looks like. And look, they say alpha, but like I said, it looks pretty clean, doesn't it? Like it's pretty fresh, it's pretty snappy, it loads quite nice. It gives you a lot of metadata information. Here's your reviews, for example. So it loads actual reviews into the interface, so you can have a read and see what other people's opinions were. It also shows you stuff in part of that collection. It also shows you related movies. One feature I really like that the devs have pointed out for me is that your discovery for each user is influenced by what you watch in Plex. So if I go back to the main page here, and a lot of this stuff that you're seeing is going off my watch history in Plex. So you're more likely to find stuff that you actually want to use. And because it's per user, every user has different tastes, right? So what they see in their discovery queue is going to be different to what you see in yours. And that's really cool. I like that. If it's customizing what we want to see, what we might want to watch again, that whole algorithm term comes in and things are customized to things you might like. They also said that they look at the top actors, genre, etc. for all those sort of details for your watched content in the last 30 days and build discovery from that. So if you've recently been watching Mythbusters like I have in the last 30 days, it might start recommending things that are similar to Mythbusters and tailoring it for you. Maybe you just like someone like Tom Cruise, who doesn't like him? It might start showing me episodes from South Park or show me TV shows that are related to him. And that's really, really cool. So we'll come back to the requesting interface in a moment, but we'll just finish setting up everything as an admin first. So back in our admin panel, we'll start going through everything. So obviously you've got requests. At the moment, we've got no requests. That's fine, makes sense. But if we did have a request in there, we would have the title, the year, the type, the status, the users, and whether it's approved, and any actions taken. You've then got issues similar to ombi. I will do a video on ombi in the future. I'm just waiting for it to develop a little bit more in its new version. But issues is similar here, where users can lodge an issue and say, something's wrong with this media format, or something's not happening right with this file, and it lets you as an admin work on fixing it. Then you've got reviews. So this is where we talked about before. So people can leave reviews, people on your server, in your instance, can leave reviews on content so that other people in your instance can read them. They basically got the title, the type, the score, any comments, who put it through, and any actions taken. So I think that's pretty cool. That's one of the features that really stands out to me, to be honest. I like that idea. Then we have our users. User profiles determine what should happen when a user makes a request. If using Sonarr and Radarr, you can pick which servers the request is sent to. You can also choose to allow approval for certain users. What this basically allows you to do, so if we add a profile, for example, we can call it test, just obviously, and we say auto approve movies and auto approve TV. Quota requests per week. Let's say they can have 10 per week, and we'll set that as the default. Click submit, and there you go. So then against a user or users, you can select them, do a bulk edit, and say, I want them to have the test profile, and click submit. So that way, that profile applies to them. So you could actually have various different profiles and really customize what people can do on different levels and as different groups. And that gives you, the admin, a little bit more control over the requests that are coming through and how you want to control them, basically. So that's users. I think that pretty much covers the page. If we head into settings, this is where we start getting back into the nitty gritty. So we went through base path, user login. The next part here is Discord. So if you want to set up your Discord, you just grab the webhook, paste it in here, click test, and then you can test it in your Discord server for notifications. Awesome, I've tested it, it works really easily. That way you can have requests come through here and notify your Discord community if a new content is up or a request is approved, for example. We've also got the option to set up something like Telegram, and then you've got popular content on Plex. Display most popular titles from Plex in the discovery view. Requires Plex Pass. So if you don't have a Plex Pass, that's not going to work. But if you do, that gives you that option, which is kind of cool. So once you've gone through all the general settings, obviously the two biggest things you're going to go ahead and set up then are Radarr and Sonarr. So if we go into Radarr, pretty straightforward. We can add multiple Radarr servers if you have multiple servers. But I'll show you how to do that real quick. So we'll click Add New. And for the title, we'll call that Radarr. We're going by HTTP. For the host, like I said earlier, we can use a container name if they're on the same server. Because mine are not on the same server, I'm going to go by the IP address. Once you've got your IP and the port for your Radarr instance, then you just need to paste your API key. So I've pasted my API key and then click test, and you can see it automatically loaded into the background there. And then lets us choose our profiles that we want, and it gets pulled from Radarr itself. So we'll go ahead and click 720 1080 for ours, and the path where we want the media to save. Make sure to check enable and click save. If you didn't notice, I just blacked out the area with the API key because I can't be bothered changing it for every video. So that was pretty easy, guys. That was pretty straightforward. If you go ahead and click test again, you get the nice test connection success. So once we've got Radarr set up, that's pretty much done. Now, if you have multiple Radarr servers or instances, you can just keep adding more here. Once you're ready to go to Sonarr, flick over to the Sonarr tab and start adding your Sonarr server. So I'll go ahead and do that, and done. So we've got our Radarr and our Sonarr set up. Beautiful, ready to go. And so I'm going to discuss with you one of the great features of Petio that really sets it apart from some other request apps. Now, hang in there with me. So head over to filter. Now under filter, I'll have a quick read of this for you guys, and then I'll try and explain it. Filters can be used to send media to specific Sonarr/Radarr servers depending on their attributes. Multiple criteria can be specified using and/or connectors. Any of the or conditions can trigger a match, whereas an and connector must always be true for the entire filter to match. So I'm going to borrow some words from their docs regarding filters. Filters are a way you can control how your requests get handled. Think of it like another layer of automation on top of Radarr and Sonarr. So let's say you like to separate your media based on age rating. Either you have kids or someone with kids. Filters allow you to be granular about where requested kid content gets placed, including Radarr Sonarr server, path, and or tag. So for example, another of the requesting apps either lets you request by 4K or not. Whereas with filters here in Petio, you're not kind of limited by that. So as long as you're able to filter content, you can filter to all different paths or instances. And so profiles, working with filters, you can achieve some pretty complex workflows, basically set and forget. This is the words of the developers here. And so if you were to think of the workflow, guys, it's basically the request, then through filters, then through profiles. So that's the order that things are processed. So I showed you profiles earlier. So let's have a look at filters, for example. We'll go movie filters and click add. So for condition, we can say if it is a genre equal to action, then I want you to send it to Radarr, movies path, and I want that to be Ultra HD, and I don't have any tags. But I can then make it even more complex. I can click a plus and say, I also want you to send it to Radarr, movies, 720, 1080. Or let's add a different one, for example. Condition, age rating is equal to PG-13, send it to Radarr, to movies, 1080. But then I also want to know if it's 4K. Now I don't have 4K in my profile, of course, but you could go Radarr. So you can see how you can really advance your workflow pattern with your requests. So, you know, if you had multiple Radarr servers, most of the time, guys, you've got, for example, a 4K Radarr server, and all it does is manage 4K stuff. This will allow you to process those things in a little bit more complex way. So you can add multiple different filters, and then you're applying the profiles on top of that. Another thing is, a lot of other requesting platforms don't really consider anime. They make it sort of hard to collect anime, or they don't really put so much effort into making it easy for you. Now, one of the developers have spoken to me about that, and they're actually a big anime fan themselves. So that's something they want to change with Petio, and something they're working on very hard to try and give people a lot more control of trying to collect their anime series. And the last thing on filters, guys, if, for example, a filter doesn't match the content that's been requested, then the request will be just sent to the user's profile. So it'll match whatever is against the profile that they have. And we'll go ahead to movies. We'll click this one here, for example. Looks pretty cool. We're really happy with it. That's something we want to check out. Go ahead and click request. Now the request has been done. It shows requested by one user. So from this point of view, as a person myself, I can look at my request by going to requests, and I've got a nice indication of what the status means and what's going on. So whether it's been approved, added to Sonarr or Radarr, means it's basically processing. So if I go back to our admin panel and we go to requests, so we've got a nice interface there telling us request has been received. We go into requests. So it's actually reading directly from Radarr and telling us the status of what the content is doing, which is really cool. Now again, we can go back to a movie, for example, and let's say we want to leave a review. We'll click on review, and I'll say, we'll go give it about 6 stars there. Click save, done. Head back to our admin panel, and we can see a review here. A score 6 out of 10. I didn't add any comments, but I could if I wanted to, and no issues as well. So I hope you enjoyed that, guys. I'm really looking forward to giving Petio a bit of an in-depth use case in my server. If you enjoyed it, please remember to like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. It really helps the channel out and helps tell YouTube to put us in the right place and give us a bit more audience who might enjoy our content. You're always welcome to join our Discord server. You'll find a link in the description. And again, a big thank you to the community developers from Petio and from our Discord community who have worked together to help make this video happen for you today. If you want to follow the written documentation, find that down below as well. And until then, we'll see you in the next IBRACORP video.